The wealth gap is getting worse.
This is the defining challenge of our time.
The super rich are getting richer.
The other 99% of workers are left to suffer.
Really? Do you suffer because these people probably make more than you?
She is the biggest earning female athlete in the entire world.
Do you suffer because these CEOs may make more than you? Does it bother you that some people have much more than others?
Yes. Average people should get higher income and buy bigger taxes for rich people.
Government can force more equality.
There should be government programs.
But is that a good thing?
Every major city which is a center of poverty is run by Democrats. The poor who suffer from that.
Equality versus liberty. That's our show tonight.
If people are free, some will be more successful than others. Maybe they're smarter, or they work harder, or they're just luckier. Whatever the reason, in a global economy, that success gets magnified. Michael Jordan made good money playing basketball, but he's made much more money because he can do things like sell these T-shirts in China. Because of the free market, globalization, new technology, some people now have the ability to make even more off their talents. And one result of that is growing inequality. Look at this video that's caught fire on the internet. It's been viewed at least 13 million times.
Here is the actual distribution of wealth in America. The poorest Americans don't even register. They're down to pocket change. The top 2 to 5% are actually off the chart at this scale. And the top 1%, this guy, well, his stack of money stretches 10 times higher than we can show. The average worker needs to work more than a month to earn what the CEO makes in 1 hour.
And that level of inequality is just wrong, say many people, especially people on the left, like Bob Beckel. So
I would say, you know, you said the free market handles all this. We should let the free market do that. The free market has been in place, and yet income inequality has gotten worse and worse. You ask, do people suffer because these CEOs make more money? Yes. And the reason for that is that a CEO makes 400 times what the average worker on the plant makes. If he wasn't making 400 times, that would be more money to distribute in wages. And the guy's working, you're not asking
maybe the workers wouldn't have a job if the CEO wasn't the prize.
And a CEO is worth 400 times more than the guy on the line?
That's what the market says.
Well, that's what the market says, and that's the problem with the market. What we're talking about are corporations particularly, whether it be Wal-Mart, McDonald's, go on down the list. The top echelon of the corporate world makes an exceedingly larger amount of money than their workers do, and that is flat wrong.
Why? It's not like there's a zero-sum game, and if Bill Gates made a lot of money, that hurt people, that hurt me, or hurt the people working at Microsoft.
Microsoft paid a very, very good wage, a living wage. You think McDonald's pays a living wage? You think Walmart pays a living wage?
Yeah. People live on that wage.
No, very few of them do. They have to work 2 and 3 jobs, and Walmart is one of the most egregious of all. It's been a very successful company by ripping off people, by closing down small businesses on Main Street and doing business all the time with China, building inferior products, including
What, they shouldn't do business with China?
No, if China would produce toys that weren't full of lead, yeah, they'd be fine.
It is true that we have this big gap between rich and poor, but those of us who appreciate free markets resist calls to squeeze this down. Apparently in England in 1990, you were a lord in the British Parliament, because here's Margaret Thatcher responding to your argument.
They'd rather have the poor poorer. Once they start to talk about the gap, they'd rather the gap was that. Down here. That. Not that. But that.
I agree with her, and her point, if you didn't get it, was that I'd rather have a big gap with all of us up rather than all of us together.
The problem was that rising yachts do not lift all boats. And
they lift most boats.
Well, that's not true. Let's not talk about this in terms of the very poor and the very wealthy. The very poor do have a lot of programs to help them. right? Whether it be food stamps or other things, which you don't agree with. But frankly, there's no other options for them. I'm talking about the working class in America, which, if you say the free market gave reasonable income inequality, if you would, in the 50s and 60s and 70s. Now it's just blown out of proportion in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s.
So how would you fix it? You would tax the rich more, raise the minimum wage. President Obama wants to do these things.
Oh, I certainly would raise the minimum wage. I mean, you can't make it on $7.25 an hour. It's just crazy. I think $15 an hour is a fair minimum wage. There's not been a study produced that indicates increasing minimum wage cost jobs. Not one.
Yes, there are
not. McDonald's talks about that. They find some professor they pay off to get themselves. That's wrong. That is, John, that is just not right. You have to show me definitive evidence that raising the minimum wage costs people jobs. It does not.
But isn't it just logical? If something costs more, you'll get a little less of it?
What are you talking about?
If the worker costs you $10 an hour, you're going to hire few than if he costs you $8 an hour.
Well, you're going to hire fewer? You still have to flip as many burgers, don't you?
Maybe you won't expand to the next McDonald's. Maybe you'll buy a machine.
Nobody can live on $10 an hour. They work 40, 60, 80 hours a week. And you cannot expect them to live on that kind of income, particularly when the corporate CEO is making, as they said in that film, 500, 600 times their money they work in a month that he makes in an hour. You think anybody's worth that kind of money? You think any CEO is worth that kind of money?
I'm grossed out by it, but if the market says they are, they must be, because somebody is voluntarily paying them.
The market.
Board of directors.
The board of directors, which are usually appointed by the CEO.
I think Beckel will make me more money than the next guy, so I'll pay you a lot of money.
Please.
I say the most important thing is individual liberty, and if we're free, there will be inequality. The important thing is opportunity, and we still have that in America. People born poor don't necessarily stay poor. In fact, most of the poorest fifth gradually move up. Here's part of a video made by the Institute for Humane Studies.
If we look at households in the bottom quintile in 1987 and then follow those individual households until 1996, we will see that about 45% of them have moved up to a higher quintile. About 42% of households that were in the top quintile in 1987 had fallen to a lower quintile by 1996.
You know, there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, in a good economy, people can pull themselves out of poverty worldwide. I mean, if you look at the most robust economic years in history, which were Bill Clinton's, and you look worldwide at the expansion that took place, a lot of countries that have very poor people rose out of poverty.
Yeah.
Now, I think that is a good thing. I think that's, and I agree that capitalism is a good thing. We're talking about gross inequality between those at the top who have rigged the system to make more money than those who work for them. And that's the problem I have. That's not free market capitalism. That's cronyism at its worst.
Well, crony capitalism is wrong. We agree on that, and we agree, thank you, Bob, to disagree about most everything else.
A real pleasure.
I fear most Americans agree with Bob. And with that other Bob, Robert Reich, who has a new movie out called Inequality for All.
Of all developed nations, the United States has the most unequal distribution of income, and we're surging toward even greater inequality.
So he became U.S. Secretary of Labor and made this movie.
I had to protect people from the people who would beat them up economically.
He and the left say they're standing up for the little guy. So I turned to libertarian philosophy professor Tibor Machan. Aren't they? Isn't Bob?
No way. You know, I was under communism myself in my early years.
He grew up in Hungary.
They are not helping the little guy. That is a myth. They talk a good game, but as far as delivery is concerned, the left does nothing but place ultimately people into concentration camps because nobody will comply with their stupid vision.
But neither Bob nor President Obama is putting people in concentration camps.
No, not yet. Under the left, you have these people who are supposed to be getting on board willingly, but they don't come on board willingly. Very few of them do, just like with Obamacare. It's very similar.
I don't pay taxes willingly. I pay because I have to.
The point is that income inequality hurt nobody unless the inequality came about through theft or through fraud or something like that. And
is it not at all gross that some people have so much more than others?
No, not any more gross than the fact that Kobe Bryant throws basketballs much better than some of the people down on the street. It's no worse than the fact that the Kenyan marathon runners win every year over and over and over again. This is the way the world goes. And any time when you try to upset it with human meddling, you encounter what economists call the public choice problem. Namely, you put the matter in the hands of people who are just as imperfect, just as venal as anybody else. This whole idea that you can just sort of get some people up there who will set things right, manage everything, it's what Hayek called the fatal conceit. And it is fatal.
That the central planners can bring us all together, lift all the boats.
They talk a good game, but they do not deliver anything nearly as good as they sound.
Part of the talk is this moral outrage at the inequality. And you cite an example in England. There's a guy who is going to stop the rich from enjoying their privilege.
He jumped in the water when the Henley Regatta was going on because he thought that it was an elitist contest. Well, damn it, so what if it was? Golf is elitist. Tennis is elitist. Hell,
he would ban those things, too. He also said that cabbies should take rich passengers on long detours.
Right. I mean, this is insane.
The media spin is that the rich get richer at the expense of the poor.
That's false.
While the richest Americans prosper, the other 99% of workers are left to suffer.
This is a story of the rich getting richer,
while the poor are now poorer.
After all, as the movie Wall Street says,
it's a zero-sum game. Somebody wins, somebody loses. Money itself isn't lost or made, it's simply transferred.
and that's a mistake a lot of people make. It's as if they think wealth is like a pot.
Oh, do you smell that? Fresh baked pie right from the oven. Do you like a piece? Which of you gets a big piece?
In a zero-sum game, the rich take a big piece, so the rest of us have less. But in a free society...
It's not a zero-sum game. The makers who get rich by baking many more pies. I don't think people get that Bill Gates baked a lot of new pies.
Yeah, they don't get it, although Adam Smith made himself famous precisely by showing that the economy is not a zero-sum game, but that both sides at least believe they gain through exchange.
And unless they both win, the trade doesn't happen because it's voluntary.
These people tend to think that they know better and that if they were at the helm, everything would work out fine, and it never does. They know that they are smarter than anybody else. They are the guys at Harvard, at the Kennedy School of Government, and so on. They know, and whoever challenges them, the prestige is supposed to speak miles and miles. And it's all a crock.
If you had to choose between equality and liberty?
It's no contest.